Hey, I'm Lisa Roulette, and what I'm about to share with you has helped thousands of people heal and create a life they love. It's going to explain to you how healing really works, and it's going to debunk all of those manifesting myths that you've been plagued with for all these years. It's also going to help you bring magic and miracles into your life if you use it. So stick with me because this will truly change your life. We're going to talk about something that I've coined the infinity loop of creation. It is truly a magical process that walks you along what we call a threefold path to healing and creating a life you love. And I'm going to make it very sweet, very short, and very simple for you to understand so that you can walk away from this video and employ everything that you're going to learn in the next couple of minutes. Now, in order to understand the infinity loop of creation, I'm going to demonstrate it along my favorite necklace, something I wear every single day of my life because it reminds me of how powerful I am as a creator. You are a creator of your life experience. And if you want your life experience to be magical and full of miracles, then understanding the infinity loop will help you tremendously. Now, one of the things that I want to point out is that you are not the creator of your reality. This is really important to understand because I know so many people that are watching this video believe or have been brainwashed to believe that they are the creator of their reality, but you're not. If you were the creator of your reality, then why would you have created a pandemic? Why would you have created the loss of a loved one? Why did you create that traffic jam that you were in yesterday or you will be in tomorrow? You didn't. You are the creator of your life experience. And when you get very, very good at creating your life experience, you become the host for all the things that you desire and deserve. Say this with me out loud. I deserve what I desire. Because you do. And if you have things that you desire that are not being created, then let's talk about how you can create those things so that you feel as though you truly are exercising your inherent power. Now, what is your inherent power? Well, your inherent power is your consciousness, because consciousness creates. But since you are never taught about yourself as consciousness, you probably don't understand yet how consciousness is creating. And instead, you're going down the rabbit hole of all of the spirituality, manifestation, law of attraction, healing, things that are running your consciousness awry. They're not really getting you to the actual mechanism that creates. So you might be one of those people that watched Abraham Hicks or Joe Dispenza, or you use the whisper method, the 369 method. You've dove into all of the ancient texts, the Hermetica, the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, astrology, gematria, all of the things, and you still don't really understand how consciousness creates. But guess what? All of those things, from Abraham Hicks to Joe Dispenza, from the Kabbalah to the Bible, to gematria, astrology, numerology, and the tarot, all of those things and people are saying the exact same thing. All of it boils down to two words, and that is consciousness creates. And since you are consciousness, let's learn how you're creating. Now, to do that, we're going to talk about the infinity loop of creation right here, okay? Now, in order to understand this, obviously you have to understand that you are consciousness. And consciousness is energy. Consciousness is energy, energy is conscious, and consciousness and energy create via the quality of energy in the consciousness body. So what is a consciousness body? Well, a consciousness body is you. So you are not just consciousness, you are a creator, and you create with your essence, okay? So your essence is essentially like your energetic architecture. It's the energetic home that you live in that is malleable, so you're not stuck where you are today. That's important to know, but it's also magnetic, okay? The energetic architecture is also known as your aura. Now, it is 2025. If you are thinking that aura is an eccentric or esoteric concept, when it has been proven by science that there is a bioelectromagnetic field that surrounds your physical body, then you're missing a major piece in self-awareness, okay? All healing, all manifestation begin in self-awareness. But by self-awareness, I don't mean calling yourself a neurodivergent manifesting generator with ADHD, okay? Could your brain work in a neurodivergent way? Yes, of course. Could your executive functioning be different than someone else's? Yes, of course. Are you a manifesting generator? I'm going to argue you're not, only because if you decide that you are, what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze your consciousness, right? You're going to close the container of consciousness because you're essentially putting the consciousness into a box, and we don't want that. Say yes if you want to create magic and miracles in your life. If you want to create magicals and miracles in your life, listen very closely. We want to expand the consciousness, and you'll see here why in just a minute. Okay, so now that you know that you are consciousness and that consciousness creates, consciousness and is energy, energy is conscious, and consciousness and energy create via the quality of the energy in the consciousness body, and you are the consciousness body with a bioelectromagnetic field that surrounds your physical body. It's very important to understand how highly magnetic you are. Let's break down the word bioelectromagnetic. This auric field, which is the bioelectromagnetic field, is a living magnetic field of energy that is always either attracting things to you or repelling things from you. So if you want to start to attract better things as part of your life experience, like more love, more joy, more peace, more prosperity, deeper purpose, more time, more freedom, and all the things that you desire and deserve, then we need to open the consciousness. We need to build the aura into this beautiful, luminous, light body, okay? All right, so now let's go to the loop and see exactly how this works, okay? In order to understand this, we have to see that over here on this side of the loop is indicative of you as consciousness. And over here is what we call mass consciousness. Now, mass consciousness can also be called the universe, right? The quantum field, or potentially your God. Okay, so your God, the universe, mass consciousness, and the quantum field are all interchangeable words. But the most important thing I want you to see about this is that your consciousness is interwoven into mass consciousness, and that makes you a really big deal. Now, important to recognize is that in the quantum field is all potential, all possibility. It's essentially everything that ever was, has been, and ever will be. So in the field of potential and possibility, in mass consciousness, in the one universal mind of God, is everything. So it is all of the prosperity and all of the scarcity. It's all of the stress and all of the freedom. It's all of the joy and all of the pain. So, as an interwoven, integral part of mass consciousness, the universal one mind of God, of the quantum field, of the universe, it's up to you to stretch the consciousness and bring back what you desire and deserve. Okay? All right. So, let's look at how this loop operates. In your consciousness, at a very high level, are your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your feelings. And your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and feelings operate in an intelligently designed way in order to help you have an experience. Now, I know a lot of you out there are still searching for your soul's purpose and wondering why you were born onto earth at this time and wondering all of these really big ideas. But let me help you distill it down into one simple truth. The only reason you are here is to create experiences. That's it. That's all. Now, if you're living from a soul level, then your soul's purpose is to create experiences that advance you along your evolutionary path. And the evolutionary path is the expansion of consciousness. But through free will, you can create any experience you want. So if you want to experience sort of those lower timeline ideas or feelings like stress, scarcity, lack, limitation, pain, remorse, regret, shame, grief, general confusion, dis-ease, maybe automatic negative thinking, depressive thoughts, anxious thoughts, not feeling worthy, not feeling powerful, That's up to you. But I would like you to see you create much more expansive experiences that are rooted in peace, love, joy, prosperity, abundance, freedom, more time, more of the things that you desire and deserve. So let's talk about how your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and feelings are actually creating the experience. All right. So you have a thought, you keep thinking it, it becomes energy in motion or an emotion. The emotion job is to look for an underlying belief that is aligned with the thought. Once the belief and the thought are aligned, they produce a feeling. The feeling is what comprises your aura. Okay. Again, your aura is a bioelectromagnetic field of energy that surrounds your physical body. So it's the aspect and essence of you that communicates to the universe, your God, to the mass consciousness, and to the field. But if you don't know anything about your aura or your essence, then, like I said, you're missing a major piece of self-awareness because you are essentially scripting your entire life experience through the auric field. Okay. Now, if you're not a conscious creator and you're interested in the Conscious Creators Bootcamp, there may or may not be a button below depending on where you're watching this, but you can certainly go to my website, lisaroulette.com, and find it there because we will help you understand the aura in a very simple way on day 4 of the bootcamp. But in the meantime, let's get back to the loop. Okay. Your aura is energy, and energy carries potential. Potential will always seek potential in order to become material and manifest. So as the aura is speaking to the field, which by the way is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, when you eat, when you breathe, when you sleep, when you speak, you literally cannot stop communicating with the field. Okay. So as it's speaking to the field, what it's looking for is similar or like quality energy. And when it finds it, it mixes, it matches, it marries, and it sparks creation, mirroring back to you a situation, circumstance, event, or person. Okay? So you see how as within, so without. Who's heard of the mirror principle? Say yes. Yes? Okay, so that is your mirror. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to affirm very, very profoundly with a lot of energy, it's my mirror. It's your mirror. If you want your mirror to look different, if you want your mirror to present different images to you, you have to take control of this side of your loop. Now, in the Conscious Creators Bootcamp community, we have a major theme, which is called the sovereign self, because this consciousness, remember, is energy. Energy is the most valuable commodity in the universe. Now, if you're not in control of your energy will get hijacked. How does your energy get hijacked? Well, obviously by the media, right? It directs the consciousness toward where it wants you to go, right? Your energy is hijacked by your parents, not by malintent, but when you're very, very young, they start to direct your consciousness in order to help you perceive the world. For instance, when your mother said money doesn't grow on trees, and your father said you have to work hard to make ends meet, what they did to your consciousness was drop the money wound in, right? Now, it's not by malintent that they do this. They're thinking that these concepts, these beliefs, these thoughts are ultimately designed to help you and protect you. But what's actually happening is your consciousness is getting hijacked in order to condition you to create experiences that mimic your mom and dad's, that mimic what the media wants you to do. But there's another culprit that's constantly hijacking your consciousness. And this is otherwise known as your ego. Now, I have helped thousands of people heal and create a life they love. And when I tell you, I have never met a person who has genuinely transcended their traumas, their dramas, their memories, their programming, and their conditioning without understanding the ego. I have not. 0 people. Anybody who refuses to understand the ego or who does not understand the ego because they don't learn about it cannot quiet it. In order for you to quiet the ego, you have to understand what it is, how it develops, and why it's operating as it does. Now, the ego thrives on trauma and drama. And in the Conscious Creators Bootcamp in the community, you will learn everything you need to know about your ego so that you can quiet it and allow the soul to emerge into the physical experience. Because if the ego is too loud, always thriving on trauma and drama, the soul will always be behind the physical experience. And the soul is a much more graceful, fluid, and faster healer and creator. Now, on day 2 of our bootcamp, you're going to hear me say that healing has a need for speed. Why? Because time doesn't heal all wounds. Consciousness heals all wounds. And look what you just learned, how your consciousness is operating. But if the ego continues to hijack the consciousness, what's going to happen is it's going to control your loop. And that is a travesty, because if you allow the ego to control your loop, what will end up happening is that you will have a mirror that looks cloudy, muddy, and maybe even broken. So let's go back to the loop and see how the ego is actually controlling it. I want you to think of the ego as the CEO of the subconscious. And in your subconscious, as you know, are all of your memories, right? Your programming, your conditioning, and also your traumas and dramas. Now, it's not just your memory, programming, conditioning, traumas, and dramas. It's also your mother and fathers, your grandmother and grandfathers, your great-grandmother and great-grandfathers, and so on down the ancestral line, because all of that comes in through the rich cellular memory of your DNA. However, we do not go down the rabbit hole of ancestral or generational work, ever. We don't even go down the rabbit hole of shadow work. Personally, I think shadow work is a shame game. I think it is a spiritual marketing play, and I don't like it at all. Instead, we recall that all healing and all manifestation begin in self-awareness. Now, if we can become intensely self-aware of what is looping through the consciousness, we will heal much faster and we will manifest our life experiences much more gracefully, okay? Now, let's go back to the loop. If the ego is running the subconscious, then the ego is in charge of all of the memory, traumas, programming, conditioning, okay? Very important to recognize, right? And what it's doing down there is it's dropping your memories, traumas, dramas, programming, conditioning like little pins on a map. And as you already know, 95% of your life experience is being created by the subconscious and therefore your ego until you take your power back from the ego. Okay. The reason the ego is dropping all the memory, trauma, drama, programming, and conditioning in the subconscious like little pins on a map is because it's steering your awareness toward those pins. And the reason it wants to steer your awareness toward those pins is because it wants you, your life experience, to mirror the contents of the subconscious. When the truth is, you're the creator. But if you allow the ego to create, or you allow something else to hijack your consciousness, then you lose supreme authority over your loop, and your life experience is going to feel potentially very painful, very traumatic, and potentially dramatic as well. Now, one of the things that the ego does in order to help you mirror the contents of the subconscious is it creates a lens or a filter through which it projects subconscious thoughts. And that lens or filters is made of your, what we call, cognitive biases and distortions and your core primary beliefs, okay? This is vitally important, all things that I will teach you on day 2 and day 3 of the bootcamp, because if you heal the cognitive biases and distortions and the wounded beliefs, everything in the subconscious starts to heal. And that's a beautiful thing. This is why I say that healing is a need for speed, because all of the traumas, dramas, memory, programming, and conditioning is creating that lens, that filter. It's all being created via cognitive biases and distortions and potentially, for most people, wounded beliefs. And that's okay. Look, I was there. All of this work that I'm sharing with you was developed for me, by me. It's because classic Western therapy failed me so miserably. However, you can see along this loop, what's playing out is the threefold path to healing and creating a life you love. Because the first fold on the threefold path is what we call your psychology, not the shadow, not the inner child, not all of that stuff that you talk about in therapy, but it is actually the cognitive biases and distortions and the wounded beliefs. The second fold on the threefold path to healing and creating a life you love is the energy, which is your aura, and a couple other things that I'm going to bring to your awareness in the bootcamp if you decide to join. But the third fold on the threefold path to healing and creating a life you love is what we call the art of surrender. Now, mastering the art of surrender is key in this process, because let's go back to the loop and watch what happens. You have a thought, you keep thinking it, it becomes energy, emotion, or an emotion. The emotion's job is to look for an underlying belief that's aligned with the thought, keeping in mind that the thought is filtered through typically a bias or distortion. Very important to recognize, okay? When the belief and the thought are aligned, they produce a feeling. That feeling comprises your aura. Your aura is what speaks to the field, the universe, your God, or mass consciousness. As it's speaking, it's looking for similar or like quality energy. Classic law of attraction. When it finds it, it mixes, it matches, it marries, and it sparks creation, mirroring back to you a situation, circumstance, event, or person. Now, as soon as that experience shows up, you have an immediate responding thought that becomes energy in motion or an emotion, and the emotion's job is to look for an underlying belief that's aligned with the thought, and once the belief and the thought are aligned, they produce a feeling. This is looping faster than light speed, and if you don't know what's happening, it will get hijacked. Okay, but now you know what's happening, and that's a beautiful thing. So as we do the work of what we call conscious creation, okay, where we're taking supreme authority over our loop, the first thing we want to do in order to create that magic and those miracles is decide on what we want our consciousness to create. This is so vital, because so many of you who are watching this video right now don't spend time on your desires, which is a travesty. Because if you don't decide what you desire and you build that in your consciousness, it will never be created. And instead, you will create on behalf of other people's desires. Okay? Really important. Remember, sovereign self. Okay? So on day one of our bootcamp, that's what we help you do. Figuring out, what do I actually want to create with my consciousness? I'm also going to show you how to hold an intention for that, because I know so many of my community members are really good at setting intentions, but not so good at holding them. Remember, the universe is very literal. So you want to hold an intention for a long time until it wakes up to the change that you've created. But once you get very good at this, it all happens much faster. Also on day one of the bootcamp, what I'm going to show you is your energetic architecture, or your emotional blueprint. This is critical in understanding the consciousness and waking up to the awareness that you are consciousness and that you are in an active state of creation. On day 2 and day 3, I'm going to show you what potentially your cognitive biases and distortions are and what your wounded beliefs are. And I'm going to show you how to heal them. Okay, now the healing happens in your daily life. I'll give you the tools, but then it's your responsibility to actually employ and use them. But they're so simple that if you start to use them, it will happen so quickly for you. Okay. Now I want to just go back to the loop for 1 second before we go on to the future days of the boot camp, because what I want you to understand is that if you continue to run a lot of cognitive biases and distortions and a lot of wounded beliefs, what do you think your mirror is going to look like? Well, it may look biased, like, why does the universe work for everybody else but me? It might look distorted, like, I just spent 6 months setting new moon intentions and nothing has manifested. I've tried every ritual and every practice and it's so distorted. Why doesn't my manifest experience, why isn't all the things that I want showing up? Why? And it might look wounded. Say yes if you feel like maybe just a little or maybe a lot that your manifest experience is biased, distorted, and wounded. We don't want that, okay? So we're gonna help you nip that in the bud very quickly by giving you very easy and efficient tools, okay? Now, day 4 and day 5 of the bootcamp, you're gonna learn about what I call the aura effect. And you're gonna learn a little bit about your energy management system so that you can really start to work with your energy and identify with yourself as energy. So many people use all of this spiritual jargon and language and they talk about it, but they're not the embodiment of the learning. This is so key. Because when you start to feel into your energy on a daily basis, you can move that energy, and that's the alchemy, okay? That's the magic. Oof, I got the chills. All right, now, day 5 of the bootcamp, you're gonna learn all about your ego, okay? We're gonna start to take your power back, my friend, okay? You're gonna learn all about your ego and what I consider to be the ego's archetypes, okay? Now, there are many archetypal systems. Carl Jung has an archetypal system. Carolyn Myss has an archetypal system. You don't really need a system. All you have to do is recognize that you are running certain archetypes, okay? Now, one archetype that you might be playing would be potentially the people pleaser, right? Empaths are typically people pleasers. People pleasers are also typically martyrs. Martyrs tend to be victims. Victims tend to be addicts. Addicts tend to be so on and so forth. OCD, anyone? You're the perfectionist. Okay, now when we heal those archetypal roles, we step out of the house of the ego. And that's a beautiful thing. That is what we call sovereignty. Okay, so when you step out of the house of the ego, then you have to decide, who is this free, fluid, soulful, living future self? I'm going to give you an embodied framework to use in order to design that self, because the only reason that you are experiencing the things that you experience now, whether it be stress, scarcity, lack, limitation, pain, remorse, regret, shame, grief, general confusion, dis-ease, automatic negative thinking, intrusive thoughts, depressive thoughts, feeling like you're not worthy, that you're not powerful, that you're not deserving, is because you practice the consciousness of it. That's the only reason. That is the only reason. And this is why oftentimes talk therapy fails us, right? Because when we talk about our problems, we rep the consciousness of it, okay? So we continue to carve deep neural pathways that keep taking us to the same damn problem. All right. Now, it's not to say that you can't talk about your problems. It's just that I want you to become aware of the future higher healed self that has transcended the problem, right? And whether that problem be the trauma, whether that problem be the drama, right? The programming, the conditioning, the money wound, the relationship wound, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm just going to show you how to transcend it. And this all happens along 7 days in the boot camp, which is easy. It will feel almost effortless, but you do have to do some of the practices. That's it. On day 7 of the bootcamp, I'm going to show you what we call secrets of a sacred morning. And this is a practice that you will do for the rest of your life, and you will absolutely love it because it will help you rep the consciousness of that higher healed self that's largely directed by the soul. That is a fluid, more graceful, and faster healer and creator, and is capable of raising your consciousness to the consciousness of joy, peace, prosperity, abundance, love, freedom, creating more time in your life, more ease, more flow, more grace. So as you see on day 6, what that future higher healed self really looks like by using the embodied framework I'm going to give you. And then on day 7 and every day throughout the rest of your life, you rep the consciousness of that higher healed self. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to collapse time. And all of a sudden, you're going to wake up and you're going to ask yourself, why is life so magical? Wait, is it life that's magical? Or am I the magic? That's the biggest question I ever want you to have. I want that to be the biggest problem solver you ever have to have, okay? I absolutely love it. I get the chills every time I say it. I personally, obviously, wake up every single morning asking myself that question. Obviously, I know the answer, right? They're not separate because look at your loop. It's all one, isn't it? It's all one. So once again, all the prosperity, peace, love, joy, time, freedom, all the things that you aspire to have in your life as your experience already exists. It's just up to you to create it. Now, if you'd like to join the Conscious Creators Bootcamp, if there's a link on this page, because some of my creators do use this video and they may or may not have links, if there's a link on this page, click it below and you'll see all of the testimonials and all of the beautiful conscious creators that have come around this teaching and who are actively changing their lives and waking up to who they really are. Who are you really? You are consciousness, and consciousness creates. Therefore, you are a creator. I'll leave you with one last thought. You deserve what you desire. All you have to do is use your consciousness to create it.